الحمد لله الخالق الوجود من العدم وجاعل النور من الظلم ومخرج الصبر من الألم، فنشكره على المصائب كما نشكره على النعم، ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الأكرم ذي الشرف الأشم والنور الأتم وكمال النبيين والكتاب المحكم، سيد ولد آدم الذي بشر به عيسى ابن مريم ودعا لبعثته إبراهيم عليه السلام حين كان يرفع قواعد بيت الله المحرم، والذي بارك الله به كافة الناس العرب منهم والعجم، فسبحان الذي لم يتخذ ولدا ولم يكن له شريك في الملك ولم يكن له ولي من الذل، وكبره تكبيرا. الحمد لله الذي أنزل على عبده الكتاب ولم يجعل له عوجا. أما بعد، يقول الله تعالى في كتابه بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. طه ما أنزلنا عليك القرآن لتشقى إلا تذكرة لمن يخشى تنزيلا ممن خلق الأرض والسماوات العلى. وقال عليه الصلاة والسلام: إنكم لا ترجعون إلى الله بشيء أفضل مما خرج منه، يعني القرآن، أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. Respected audience, dear brothers and sisters, we start off with the glorification of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allahumma ya man la tarahu al-uyun, O Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the eyes cannot see, ولا تخالطه الظنون, and the thoughts cannot fathom, ولا يصفه الواصفون, and anyone attempting to give a description of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is unable to do so. يعلم مثاقيل الجبال, He knows the weight of the weightiest mountains, ومكاييل البحار, and the depths of the deepest oceans, وعدد قطر الأمطار, and the amounts of raindrops that fall down from the sky. لا تواري منه سماء سماء, nothing can remain hidden from the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. قل لو كان البحر مدادا لكلمات ربي لنفد البحر قبل أن تنفد كلمات ربي ولو جئنا بمثله مددا. Say, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, to your ummah, that if you were to turn the oceans, all of the water from the oceans into ink, and all the trees of planet Earth into pens, and you start to write down the glorification of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the water from the oceans will finish and all the pens will perish, but the glorification of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never end. I would like to start off with the incident of a young man by the name of Abdul Uzza. He was an inhabitant of the city of Ta'if, the very city that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam went to in hopes of spreading the message of Islam. This young man, he happened to come across a caravan of strange individuals. As we know, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he gave the description of Islam, he said, "Bada al-Islamu ghariba." Islam started as a strange affair, and strange in the Arabic language, the word gharib in the Arabic language means strange. It does not mean a poor person like we know it in Urdu language. So Rasulullah said, "Bada al-Islamu ghariba." Islam started as a strange affair. So when this young man from Ta'if saw a caravan passing by, he thought that these individuals, they seem different and they seem strange. Just like as when we go out in the attire of a Muslim, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the tawfiq to apply the sunnah attire upon ourselves. People think you're weird and they think you're strange. And naturally, they're curious and they think, who is this person? So similarly, this young man was standing on the side of the road and he saw the caravan passing and he thought these individuals, they seemed different. So he asked them, "Who are you?" So naturally, when someone asks us, we will usually start by our name, but these were the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The answer they gave before their names was, "Nahnu ashabu Rasulillahi sallallahu alaihi wasallam." Verily, we are the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And as Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu an, when giving a description of his fellow companions, he states, "Man arada minkum an yakuna mustannan falyastanna biman qad mat." And Shaikh Yusuf rahimahullah, the author of Hayatul Sahaba and one of the elders of the effort of Da'wah and Tabligh, mentioned this hadith on the front page of his book Hayatul Sahaba. So he writes, "Man arada minkum an yakuna mustannan falyastanna biman qad mat." Whoever has a desire to follow the sunnah of anyone should follow the sunnah of an individual who has passed away. And this is a very deep point, because a person, فَإِنَّ مَيِّتَ لَا يُخَافُ عَلَيْهِ الْفِتْنَةِ. One who has passed away, you have no fear of fitna over him. He was able to protect his iman and hand himself over to the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he gives a description of them, a description of the ashab of Rasulullah, the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He says, أُولَٰئِكَ أَصْحَابُ Muhammad. They're the ones worthy of being followed. He says they are the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. أَبَرَّ النَّاسِ قُلُوبًا أَقَلُّهُمْ تَكَلُّفًا أَعْمَقَهُمْ عِلْمًا. They have the least amount of artificial, they're not artificial at all. And they have the cleanest and the purest of the hearts, and they are closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he said, نحن أصحاب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. When prompted, they replied that we are the companions of Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم. So the young man by the name of Abdul Uzza, he said, how can I be like you? And naturally the message they used to give to the people was aslimu taslamu, that you enter the fold of Islam and you enter the fold of the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this young man, he went back and he narrated that incident to his uncle, and his uncle was familiar with the message of Islam, and he said, be quiet. Don't you dare mention this or mention the account of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in front of me ever again. So he tried to be patient, but he was unable to do so. And after 6 months, he went to his uncle and he said, احترق قلبي شوقا إلى رؤية رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. That indeed my heart has been burnt due to the desire that it has to see a glimpse of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His uncle threatened him and he said that if you continue onwards with this desire, I will make sure that you are left with nothing. So much so that I will take the clothes that are on your back. And he fulfilled that threat. And when the young man was leaving the city, he took away everything and he was left with a bajad. A bajad is a cloth, which is a thick, heavy woolen cloth, and he had that over his head, and it went all the way to his knees. So he set out for the city of Rasulullah, Madinatul Munawwara, and he entered the company of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the moment the Sahaba they saw and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saw him, they asked him, "Who are you, O young man?" So he gave his name to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that I have come with the desire of accepting Islam, and my name is Abdul Uzza. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave him the name of Dhul Bajadain, that no, indeed you are a person who is enshrouded and covered in a sheet. And he accepted Islam. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anh mentions an incident. He says that during the battle of Tabuk, I was looking and searching for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I could not find him until I kept on searching and searching, and I found him where he was burying the dead. And I found that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was inside a grave, and he was saying to Abu Bakr and Umar radiallahu anh that, hand over to me your brother. Hand over to me your brother. And he says that when I looked closer, it was that same young man, Abdul Uzza, from the city of Ta'if. And he says that he was handed over to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Rasulullah lowered him into his grave, and then he faced him with his own hands towards the Qibla. And Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anh, he says that لَوَدِدْتُ أَنِّي كُنْتُ مِثْلَهُ. He says that I wish that I was in his place, even though I had accepted Islam before that individual by 15 years. This is a description of the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Respected audience, each and every single one of us yearns to be in the company of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we all think and we imagine, how will we face Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam on the day of Qiyamah? It's the burning desire. Just like that young man by the name of Abdul Uzza had the desire to see a single glimpse of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Just like that, each and every single ummati of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has that desire within him to witness and to see the face of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the tawfiq on the day of Qiyamah, that we're able to witness and we're able to take a drink from the Hawd of Kawthar from the hands of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But for us, the practice and the teaching of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was to follow the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That is the implementation of the desire to see Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and to be in his company. There's the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in which he mentions that layta anna nara ikhwanana, that it's my desire that I am able to see my brothers. The Sahaba ridwanullahi ta'ala alayhim ajma'een, who were there in the company of Rasulullah, they asked, Ya Rasulullah, alasna ikhwanak, are we not your brothers? You said that you wish to see your brothers. We're here. Are we not your brothers? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied, Antum ashabi wa ikhwani qawmun amanu bi wa lam yarawni, that you are my companions. You have the special status of being my companion, and you have the special title, radiyallahu anhum wa radu an, given to you by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But my brothers are those who have not seen me, but they will be from amongst those who come after me. And there's that famous لَحَمِلْنَاهُ عَلَىٰ أَعْنَاقِنَا, that if we were in the company of Rasulullah, we would not have let his feet touch the ground. We would have carried him on our shoulders and on our necks. But the answer that Hudayfa radiallahu anh gave is a very unique answer. He said that مَا يَتَمَنَّى أَحَدُكُمْ أَن يَرَى مَنْظَرًا غَيَّبَهُ اللَّهُ عَنْ, that what is with you people that you desire to see things and you desire to be in a time which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took away from you. Because if you were in the company of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that company comes with great responsibility. Just like when we label ourselves as Muslims in a land where nobody knows us. And when you go out with the label of a Muslim, you're meant to behave in a certain way. To this day, I do not forget the advice one of my teachers, he gave me when I was in Pakistan. He was a muhajir from the country of Tunisia. And some of these countries, they do not have religious freedom. So there's a lot of people who migrate from these countries. And we had a lot of teachers from countries like Tunisia, Morocco, Egypt, because they were not able to practice their religion freely. They were not able to keep beards. Their wives and their daughters were not able to cover their heads. So we had a lot of teachers from these countries, and they used to teach us. When I was leaving, I went to him for advice, and he said that when you go back, the people will see you as a Muslim. It's very, very important that you leave behind a positive impression. Just like Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he was in the city of Mecca, before he started preaching the da'wah of Islam, before he started calling people towards Islam, he was known as as-sadiq al-amin, the trustworthy and the one who always told the truth. So naturally, when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam started with the message of Islam, people were attracted towards him because he was a person with a clean personality and a person who was not labeled with any type of fraud, and he had not cheated anyone his entire life. Here I would like to mention an incident which unfolded before the Roman emperor. When he was in battle with the Sahaba of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as we know, during the time of Umar radiallahu anh, there was a northward expansion of the Muslims towards the Syrian lands. And the Syrian lands were controlled by the Roman Empire, which was a superpower of that time. And they were at times surprised with the power of the Muslims. There are people who don't have enough clothing. There are people who don't have enough weaponry on their hands. They don't have camels to ride on. They don't have horses. They take turns riding each other's rides. So they were surprised that what's with these people? How are they able to advance forward and are able to defeat our armies? So he summoned someone who could give him an account of the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he found a person who was captured by the Muslims, and he stayed in the company of the Muslims for some time, and then he was released and allowed to go back to the capital where the Roman emperor resided. So he summoned him to his court. And when he asked him to give an account of the Muslim, that person became excited. He said that إِنِّي أَقُصُّ عَلَيْكَ الْقِصَّةَ كَمَا رَآهُ أَنَا بِأُمِّ أَعْيُنِي. I will be able to give you a description of these people, of these strange people, as if I see them right before me in front of my eyes. So he said, why don't you give me a description of them? He said, أَخْبِرْنِي عَنْ هَؤُلَاءِ الْقَوْمِ. Tell me everything that you can about these people. And he replied that إِنَّهُمْ فُرْسَانٌ بِالنَّهَارِ رُهْبَانٌ بِاللَّيْلِ. The very first description that I can give you about these people is that they are riding on horseback during the daytime. That they're busy with hard work during the daytime, and at nighttime you will find them devoted to the service of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. During the daytime they're sitting on the back of their horses, nighttime they're sitting on the backs of their musalla. And this is a lesson that we draw from the early days of Nubuwah. When you look at the command given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the very first command is Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. That get up and read in the name of your Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the aspect of learning and working hard and striving for the sake of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the second aspect we see is the aspect of ibadah. Just like the Sahaba were balancing between the two. During the daytime, they're working and striving for the sake of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nighttime, they're standing and engaged in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is something that comes from the early days of Islam. When you look at the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, during the daytime, he was going from tent to tent, from city to city, calling people towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and taking every single difficulty that would come his way. When Aisha radiallahu anha, when she was crying, and she said that, how long are you going to to go on like this? Rasulullah replied, سَيَدْخُلُ دِينُ أَبِيكِ بَيْتُ مَدَرٍ وَوَبَرٍ, that a time will come that the religion of your father, the religion of Islam, will enter each and every single nook and cranny of the world. And the second aspect was, when we notice, you look towards Surah Al-Muzammil, يَا أَيُّهَا الْمُزَّمِّلْ قُمِ اللَّيْلَ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا قُمْ فَأَنذِرْ وَرَبَّكَ فَكَبِّرْ. That is the aspect of the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the first description he gave of the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was that they're fursanun bin nahar, ruhbanun bil layl. They're on horseback during the daytime and engaged in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala during the nighttime. Second description was لا يأكلون من ذمتهم إلا بثمن. They never mistreat anyone. They never take away the right of anyone. They're given they were given standing instructions by their Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam not to harm the older individuals of the city, not to harm the women and children of the city. So he said that لا يأكلون من ذمتهم إلا بثمن, and if they owe something to someone, they make sure that they fulfill that promise that they have made to someone. Then the third description he gave was لا يدخلون إلا بسلام, that whenever they enter a locality or a dwelling, they enter with peace. And they never invade the privacy of someone. And then he says that يَقِفُونَ عَلَى مَنْ حَارَبَهُم, that they're not the ones to initiate war. They call people towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wherever they go, their intent is not to attain personal benefit. Their intent is not to gain glory and to gain land. The intent is to give people the message of Islam, so they remain standing. لا يقفون على من حاربهم, that they remain standing and they remain waiting, and they call people towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If people accept their message, then they accept them as their brothers, and if they reject, that is when they initiate war itself. And this is a description of the Sahaba Ridwanullahi ta'ala majma'een, and it's something that we should aspire to be like. You know, we hear their stories, but these stories shouldn't be a form of entertainment for us. A lot of times we're going to different kinds of lectures that are being given. The intention that should be there is the intention of implementing whatever is being taught into our lives and to become just like them, a direct embodiment of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba Ridwanullahi ta'ala majma'een. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to implement their sunan and their practices within our lives. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Please pass the donation boxes from left to right and donate generously. Sadaqah wards off calamities and draws the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Sadaqah given during the day of Jumu'ah is greater in reward than any other day. No curb parking. Do not park on the curbs behind the seminary building or the Swift Highway. We have additional parking spaces in the used car lot. There's going to be a girls' youth halaqah, a bi-weekly sisters youth halaqah tonight from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at the Seminary Sisters Prayer Hall from sisters ages 13 and plus. We invite sisters to spend some moment or some time in the environment of the masjid with the young sisters, where they will experience a unique opportunity to bond and discuss the challenges our youth face today. The topic is post-Ramadan blues. Everyone is requested to please bring a small notebook. Sisters' dars will be on this Sunday from 12:15 till Salatul Dhuhr. Join us for our weekly programs. Teen Fajr will be continued tomorrow. Fajr Iqama is at 5 a.m. Bukhari dars will be continued Monday after Maghrib Salah with Mufti Minhajuddin. Tafsir will be continuing Tuesday after Maghrib Salah with Mufti Azimuddin. Register for the Deen intensive classes which start on June 20th, 2023. Register for the Tanweer first year classes which start August 14th. The annual retreat will take place Friday, May 26th to May 28th. The topic is changing tides of right and wrong, navigating modern shifts in modern society. In the ever-evolving landscape of modern society, the lines between right and wrong are constantly being redrawn. As Muslims, it is essential for us to navigate these moral shifts with knowledge and understanding based on the divine revelation. In this year's retreat, we will explore various topics such as gender roles, sexual morality, recreational drug use, marriage, social media, and entertainment. There will be many speakers coming from out of state, and there will be some from in-state. There's a request for dua al-maghfirah for Sister Nafisa, who passed away in Karachi. Allahumma shfi mardana wa marda al-muslimin warham amwatana wa amwat al-muslimin.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
الحمد لله الخالق الوجود من العدم وجاعل النور من الظلم ومخرج الصبر من الألم فنشكره على المصائب كما نشكره على النعم ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الأكرم ذي الشرف الأشم والنور الأتم وكمال النبيين والكتاب المحكم سيد ولد آدم الذي بشر به عيسى بن مريم ودعا لبعثته إبراهيم عليه السلام حين كان يرفع قواعد بيت الله المحرم والذي بارك الله به كافة الناس العرب منهم والعجم فسبحان الذي لم يتخذ ولدا ولم يكن له شريك في الملك ولم يكن له ولي من الذل وكبره تكبيرا. أما بعد، يقول الله تعالى في كتابه بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. طه ما أنزلنا عليك القرآن لتشقى إلا تذكرة لمن يخشى تنزيلا ممن خلق الأرض والسماوات العلى. وقال عليه الصلاة والسلام: إنكم لا ترجعون إلى الله بشيء أفضل مما خرج منه، يعني القرآن. وقال تعالى: واتقوا يوما ترجعون فيه إلى الله ثم توفى كل نفس ما كسبت وهم لا يظلمون. وقال عليه الصلاة والسلام: اتق الله حيثما كنت وأتبع السيئة الحسنة تمحها وخالق الناس بخلق حسن. بارك الله لنا ولكم في القرآن العظيم، ونفعنا وإياكم بما فيه من الآيات والذكر الحكيم، إنه تعالى جواد كريم ملك بر رؤوف رحيم. الحمد لله الذي أنزل على عبده الكتاب ولم يجعل له عوجا، قيما لينذر بأسا شديدا من لدن ويبشر المؤمنين الذين يعملون الصالحات أن لهم أجرا حسنا ماكثين فيه أبدا، وينذر الذين قالوا اتخذ الله ولدا. أيها الناس، إن الله تبارك وتعالى أمركم بأمر عظيم بدأ فيه بنفسه وثنى بملائكته المسبحة بقدسه، وثلث بكم أيها المؤمنون من برية جنه وإنسه، فقال تعالى: إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك، وصل على المؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات. اللهم إنا نسألك من خير ما سألك منه عبدك ونبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، ونعوذ بك من شر ما استعاذك منه عبدك ونبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وأنت المستعان وعليك البلاغ، ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. اللهم أعط نفوسنا تقواها وزكها أنت خير من زكاها. اللهم اشف مرضانا ومرضى المسلمين، وارحم أمواتنا وأموات المسلمين. عباد
الله، حي على الفلاح، حي على الفلاح، حي على الفلاح، قد قامت الصلاة، قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر، الله أكبر، لا إله إلا الله.
سووا الصفوف فإن تسوية الصفوف من تمام الصلاة. Make sure your lines are straight, leave no gaps in between. Fill up the spaces up in the masjid first. Allahu Akbar. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. فإذا قضيت الصلاة فانتشروا في الأرض وابتغوا من فضل الله واذكروا الله كثيرا لعلكم تفلحون. وإذا رأوا تجارة أو لهوا انفضوا إليها وتركوك قائما قل ما عند الله خير من اللهو ومن التجارة والله خير الرازقين. الله سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تلهكم أموالكم ولا أولادكم عن ذكر الله ومن يفعل ذلك فأولئك هم الخاسرون. وأنفقوا مما رزقناكم من قبل أن يأتي أحدكم الموت فيقول رب لولا أخرتني إلى أجل قريب فأصدق وأكن من الصالحين ولن يؤخر الله نفسا إذا جاء أجلها والله خبير بما تعملون. الله سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.